why do we borrow our own currency in the first place?
The U.S. government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
That everything you think you know about money is wrong. While you work hard to earn it, something is quietly stealing your wealth, your time, and your freedom right from under your nose. And it's not just happening to you. It's happening to everyone. But there's a way to stop it and even turn the tables. Stay tuned, because in the next few minutes, you'll learn how the greatest financial shift in history is unfolding, and how you can position yourself to not just survive, but thrive. Your real wealth isn't just money, it's your time and freedom. Money, on the other hand, is simply a tool we use to trade our time. It's a container that stores our economic energy until we're ready to use it. But there's a problem. Over time, we've been led away from real money, falling into the trap of using currency, a deceptive substitute that quietly steals your most valuable assets, your time and your freedom. We're entering a period of financial upheaval, one that will go down in history as the greatest wealth transfer the world has ever seen. Remember, wealth never just disappears, it moves from one place to another. And with every crisis, there's always opportunity. The good news? All you need to do to turn this crisis into your advantage is to educate yourself. The best investment you can make is in your education. Learn the history of money. Understand finance and the way the global economy operates. Realize how central banks, financial markets, and government policies can manipulate and at times deceive you. By understanding the financial system, you can place yourself on the right side of this wealth transfer. As Winston Churchill once said, "The further you look into the past, the further you can see into the future." Understanding money versus currency. To understand what's happening, we need to get one thing clear. There's a huge difference between currency and money. Money must meet a specific set of criteria. It must be a medium of exchange, a unit of account, divisible, durable, portable, fungible, meaning each unit is the same, and most importantly, a store of value over time. Gold and silver have been the ultimate form of money for thousands of years because they meet all of these requirements. Currency, on the other hand, only meets some of these criteria. Your paper dollars, euros, or pounds are a medium of exchange, a unit of account, divisible, portable, and fungible. But there's one thing they're not: a store of value. And that's the critical difference. Because governments can print unlimited amounts of currency, they dilute the value of each unit. Every time new currency is printed, it steals purchasing power from the currency already in circulation. This process is called inflation, and it's why your money buys less today than it did yesterday. But the worst part is, most people, including many financial experts, don't understand this distinction. Even your accountant or financial planner might not fully grasp the difference between money and currency, and that's why so many people are unprepared for what's coming next. A brief history of money. To understand how we got here, we need to take a journey back in time. Roughly 5,000 years ago, the ancient Egyptians began using gold and silver as their primary forms of currency. But at that point, they weren't quite money. Gold and silver pieces varied in size, weight, and purity, so they weren't easily interchangeable. Trade was difficult, and assigning a clear price to goods was nearly impossible. But as civilizations evolved, so did their understanding of money. Over time, coins were minted with standardized weights and purities. This allowed people to assign a clear value to goods and services, making trade far more efficient. Fast forward to the 20th century. Before World War I, the US dollar was backed by gold. Each note issued by the US Treasury was essentially a claim check. It represented a specific amount of gold stored in a vault, and you could exchange your paper dollars for physical gold on demand. But after World War I, things changed. Governments around the world began printing more currency than they had gold to back it up. By 1971, President Nixon officially took the US dollar off the gold standard, meaning the currency was no longer tied to any real value. This move transformed the US dollar, and most of the world's currencies, into fiat currencies. Money that has value because the government says it does, not because it's backed by something tangible. Since then, governments have been free to print as much currency as they want, leading to the situation we find ourselves in today. The consequences of fiat currency. So what's the problem with fiat currency? When a government prints more currency, it dilutes the value of every existing unit. This causes inflation, which is why prices of everyday goods seem to constantly rise. But it's not that things are getting more expensive, it's that the currency is losing its purchasing power. Think of it like this. Imagine a sponge in a pool of water. If you keep adding more water to the pool, the sponge will naturally absorb more of it. In this analogy, the sponge represents prices, and the water is the currency supply. As the currency supply increases, prices must rise to absorb the excess currency. This is why you feel like your money isn't going as far as it used to. You're not imagining things, your currency is losing value. And the more governments print, the worse the problem becomes. But here's where things get really interesting. Historically, gold and silver have always accounted for inflation. When people lose faith in their currency, they rush to gold and silver, driving their value up to match or exceed the value of all the currency in circulation. The great wealth transfer. What's happening now is unlike anything the world has ever seen. We're on the brink of the greatest wealth transfer in history, and it's happening on a global scale. Governments around the world are printing currency at an unprecedented rate. As this continues, inflation will rise, and currencies will lose their value. People who hold their wealth in currency will see it evaporate, while those who understand what's happening will be able to protect their wealth, and even grow it, by holding real money, like gold and silver. This isn't the first time this has happened. Throughout history, we've seen countless examples of fiat currencies failing. From the hyperinflation of Weimar Germany to the collapse of the Zimbabwean dollar, the pattern is always the same. When governments print too much currency, its value eventually falls to zero. In fact, every single fiat currency in history has eventually failed. The US dollar, euro, and other global currencies are no different. They're just on the same path at a slower pace. Part 5. How to protect yourself. How can you protect yourself from this crisis and even position yourself to benefit from the coming wealth transfer? The answer lies in education. The more you understand about how the global financial system works, the better equipped you'll be to navigate the crisis. You need to educate yourself on the history of money, the difference between currency and real money, and how central banks and governments manipulate the system to their advantage. The good news is that it's never been easier to access this information. Books, documentaries, podcasts, and online courses can provide you with the knowledge you need to protect your wealth and position yourself on the right side of this crisis. One of the most important things you can do is to invest in real money, gold and silver. These precious metals have been a store of value for thousands of years, and they will continue to be a safe haven as fiat currencies collapse. By holding a portion of your wealth in gold and silver, you can protect yourself from inflation and ensure that your purchasing power remains intact, no matter what happens to the currency. The future of money. As we move forward, it's important to consider what the future of money will look like. With the rise of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, we're seeing the beginning of a new era in which people are looking for alternatives to fiat currencies. Cryptocurrencies offer many of the same benefits as gold and silver. They're decentralized, limited in supply, and can't be printed by governments. But unlike gold and silver, they exist entirely in the digital world, making them highly portable and easy to transfer across borders. While cryptocurrencies are still in their infancy, they represent a potential future for money that's outside the control of governments and central banks. As the world loses faith in fiat currencies, we may see a shift towards digital currencies as a new form of money. So, what have we learned? Your true wealth is your time and your freedom. Money is just a tool to store that wealth, while currencies slowly drain it away. Gold and silver stand out as the ultimate form of money because they can't be manipulated by governments. They're a store of value that has stood the test of time. Meanwhile, fiat currencies are based solely on trust and eventually they all return to their intrinsic value. 0. As we move through this decade of financial uncertainty, remember, the key to success is being on the right side of the wealth transfer, and the best way to do that is through education. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights into how to protect and grow your wealth during these changing times.